Hey Hannah, it's Dr. Scott. So some feedback on your Essay 2. Just a quick reminder, the things that I'm looking for in Essay 2. I'm looking at a thesis statement that's pretty focused, that has an argument about two of the flood wall murals and supporting reasons to support your argument about the flood wall murals. I'm also looking for your use of details from the murals to support your ideas. I'm looking also for organization and how you're transitioning between ideas and integrating a couple paraphrases. So I may not get to all of those issues in this essay or in this draft, but those are the things that I'm looking for, and you can find that on the prompt for Essay 2 on the rubric. So right now, I think the biggest issue for you to address is kind of clarifying what exactly your argument is. It seems like you're writing something about guilt and those two Native American murals, and I think that is a great place to start. Where I'm really kind of confused is the supporting reasons for that. How do those murals get that sense of guilt across? And there's a few different ways that you might kind of think about it, and then I'll talk about that later when I'm getting to the rest of your essay. So right now, this is your essay here. I'm going to kind of just scroll down a little bit. Oops, get that out of here. So for me, it feels like you have a couple introductory paragraphs. I'm not sure if you need everything that's in both of these paragraphs, but I kind of like how the first paragraph kind of sets up the murals themselves, and then you're kind of getting a little bit more focus as that paragraph goes on. I do think that the thesis statement was kind of hard for me to identify here. I know that you're talking about the two murals. You're talking about the controversy. I think that there's stuff in the second paragraph that you might consider cutting. Definitely condensing with the first paragraph. So for me, this is the thesis statement at this point, and it's okay that it's a draft, but that's what I thought it was. What it's missing right now is the how. How do the murals get that idea of guilt across? It's fine to say that they got guilt, and that's an argument that you can have, but it's not really an argument until you say this is how I think they do it. And it could be the use of colors, it could be the use of action that they have in the murals. There's a few different ways that they kind of go about it. But right now, the thesis statement really isn't there. It isn't focused enough, and it doesn't kind of give the supporting reasons for what you want to argue. So going on to the second page, and it's a really minor thing, but this should be the second page instead of the first page. I think that's on all of the pages in your essay. So when I get to like this paragraph here, you're just kind of, for me, it felt like you were kind of summarizing things that you saw in the mural, and I had no idea like how these related to your overall argument in the paper. An idea that I have, though, and we can talk about this a little bit further, is that idea of guilt suggested in the murals by them showing very normal things that Native Americans were doing back then. Kind of like linking what Native Americans were doing back then to people in their day-to-day lives. Oops, that's my dog. Hold on. Sorry about that. That's our dog. So, like, by them showing kind of like normal things happening in Native Americans, is that a way to make people kind of connect with Native Americans back then? Like, these are people that were kind of like us, that were just kind of like talking to friends and going about their day-to-day lives, and suddenly they're not here, and that kind of forces people that are looking at the murals to kind of remember, all right, what removed these people from there? So I think like it's fine to talk about these things, but you need to interpret them and explain how they kind of connect to your argument. Right now, they're just kind of random facts out there that don't seem to be tied to your argument. I really like the idea of writing about colors in these paragraphs. For me, it was a little bit confusing to hear about how they're very bright but also dull. Those seem to be kind of competing and conflicting ideas. So I kind of like want to know what you mean by that. I do think you've got some really good detail in here, which is great. What needs to take this a step further is to explain how these details help support that argument. So if your overall paper is about guilt and how the murals are trying to invoke guilt, explain how this is guilt. Like, how do the colors help with that idea of guilt? And I also think you should definitely be talking about both murals, not just one mural in this paragraph and then another mural in another paragraph. It's like colors are used in both murals to get this idea of guilt across. And here's how it works, and here's the different ways that it works in both murals. I think that is really kind of like the big piece of feedback, connecting the ideas back to guilt, kind of thinking through exactly how you're going to get that idea of guilt across. I think that's super important. So like you'll have some paragraphs that are about color, and then some paragraphs that have a lot of detail, and you don't kind of connect those to guilt, and then in other paragraphs like this one right here, where you're telling us about things that are not, you're kind of reading into the murals a fair bit. So they need to come together. So the murals need to come together, and the message about guilt needs to come together with your, if you're going to talk about color, or if you're going to talk about the action that's in the murals, if you're going to talk about I guess the arrangement of details in the mural, like how it's kind of organized. There's a number of different ways that you can analyze these murals. You need to connect it back to that issue of guilt. So that needs to you need to think that through a fair bit. So if you want to chat with me about how to do that, let me know. I think the Writing Center could be a good place to go to get some feedback on that. But I think the next stage is to make sure that you have paragraphs that are about that are connected to that umbrella idea of guilt, and then have details that are within those paragraphs. Okay, that's a lot. If you have questions, don't be shy to reach out to me. I'll be in my office tomorrow if you want to stop by, and we can talk and kind of get you off on the right path. All right, Hannah, that's it for now.